I am Tanya Andrews, the Marketing Director for Pennant Publications, LLC. Today we have with us our author, Lou Stant, who has written the book, The Madcap Chronicle of Elton Brunicle. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll just jump right into these questions. That way people can learn about your book and a little bit about the history of it. Where did the idea or inspiration come from for this book, Lou?
Well, it was kind of a contrast to the first book that I'd written. In the middle of 2011, I had completed my first novel. It was called Of Moose and Men, kind of a play on John Steinbeck, which for reasons I won't explain had been really easy to write. Because years ago, a friend and I, who had originally come up with this idea, had written out this full outline of this story. So I had every chapter mapped out. I had all the character sketches. I had everything pretty well right there in this file. And so writing the book was, it was kind of like connecting the dots or painting by numbers. It was all right there. So I just followed the directions. The characters in that book were all really nomadic. They were kind of moving around a lot. And I really wanted to write a book about a family that was more rooted.
Okay.
Lived here in the same environment that we live here near Nashville, Indiana.
Okay.
And so that's where the original impetus came for the book, The Madcap Chronicle. Like I said, I wanted to write a book about a family that was more rooted. And I wanted my own family experience to kind of subtly be involved in certain ways.
Okay.
So that it was slightly autobiographical. And I wanted it to be reflective somewhat of the career that I was embroiled in at the time. And that is working with people with disabilities, mental and physical disabilities.
Okay.
You know, those were my motivations in writing this particular book.
Okay. As an author myself, I found that it's much easier to write about things that I have experienced or have walked beside people as they have experienced, or even fields that I've worked in. So it adds that knowledge and experience to put some of those details in our books.
Yeah. The people in the novel all have certain disabilities that that a lot of the people I worked with also had.
Okay.
One of the characters is an undiagnosed schizophrenic. His wife is a recovering alcoholic, and their son is a teenager diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
So all those were things that I had some experience in.
Okay.
I was afraid when I was going to write this second novel that that I couldn't do it. The first novel, I'd had this big detailed outline and all the character sketches, you know, and so it was so easy. And the question in the back of my mind was, am I able to actually engage my imagination to the point to where I can write a second novel that just comes out of me as I'm writing? It turned out, though, it did. My imagination took over. The process was a lot more effortless than I had thought it would be.
Okay.
The first novel I wrote in the first half of 2011, and by the end of 2011, I'd finished The Madcap Chronicle. So it took months.
Okay, awesome. So what is your favorite part of the book?
When I saw that question, I realized that there were a couple of them, but I chose one of them. There in chapter 3, the character Elton is at a carnival. And of course, throughout the book, what he's experiencing you're not really sure how real it is because he's an undiagnosed schizophrenic.
Oh,
He's
okay.
suspecting his problem is because what happens to him on a day-by-day basis is anything but normal. It's very unusual.
Okay.
It's supernatural in content. Um, in chapter 3, he's at a carnival, but it's a different kind of carnival than the ones we're used to. The ones we're used to are circular. You know, you get on the roller coaster and it circles around, it brings you back to where you got on.
Yes.
All the rides in this carnival are linear. They just keep going.
Oh,
Whole different thing.
I don't think I would like that.
Yeah, it's rather scary to imagine.
Yeah.
So he gets on the roller coaster. And the thing that I really liked about it was that his means of conveyance kept changing. He gets on the roller coaster and it rises up and starts moving. And then he gets up to go find the bathroom and he's on an airplane. And then when he gets back to his seat, he picks up the handlebars and revs them and he's on a highway. So it's all this kind of seamless,
Oh,
one kind of conveyance into another. And
okay.
that the way I was able to write it in a seamless manner really surprised me, but it somehow worked.
Okay.
That was my favorite part of the book, I think.
Okay. And so we've kind of talked a little bit about your background or experience in like the topics of the book, having worked around people and those sorts of things. Do you have anything to add on that experience?
Well, the character of Elton, the lead character, was inspired by folks that I knew with mental illnesses. But he's a character with a twist in the sense that his apparent schizophrenia is undiagnosed and hidden.
Oh.
The struggle that he's going through is, do I go to mental health professionals with this problem, or do I try and learn to control it myself?
Self, yeah.
Because the minute you go to mental health professionals, then you have the system entering into your life.
Yes.
You
yes.
have medications and you have all this stuff that starts hinging on you. And he had a healthy fear of that because his wife is someone who works with people. She's an employment consultant and she works with people with mental illnesses. So he's well aware of what happens to someone who has the system impinging on their life, and he wants to avoid that.
Avoid it. Okay.
That somehow he can learn to control these experiences.
That's a challenge, though.
That is a challenge, and I think what he finds out is that he really can't control them. A contrast to him, though, is his son with autism. And his son, we find out in the course of the novel, has an incredible gift at operating motor vehicles.
Oh.
He has autism. He doesn't communicate real well. He's not very sociable, but he's behind the wheel of an automobile and he can drive like no one. I mean, it's phenomenal what he's able to do. He is successful in terms of trying to utilize the gift, so to speak, that his ability presents him with. Unlike Elton, who just completely fails to control the experience, Duncan is able to take advantage of that gift and winds up becoming the first Grand Prix champion with autism. That's one of the.
Awesome. I have worked with autistic children myself, and I have a brother who is autistic. So I kind of understand where that's coming. Yeah. Yep, that's cool. Maybe I'll mention that to my brother.
Okay.
So what did you enjoy most about writing this book?
I enjoyed that. I was telling you before about my fear as to, can I pull this off? You know, can I write a book if it isn't all written out in advance? And what I found is that it just spilled out of me. I never had an occasion in which I sat down to write a chapter, and keep in mind, I was making it up as I was going along.
By the grace of the Spirit
Where it
is
was
the way
going,
it goes for me.
yeah, it's like the Holy Spirit or someone standing there whispering in your ears.
Yes, yes.
And so I would sit down to write the next chapter, having no idea where it's going, and it would just come out of me.
There it is. Yeah.
And I would get done with the chapter and I'd read it and go, wow, where is this? And that whole process of it just coming out of me almost effortlessly and starting to take shape was the thing I think I enjoyed the most about it. That
Okay.
was a
Okay.
kind of feeling of discovery almost. It was really
Uh-huh. All
extraordinary.
right. Purpose. A little bit of purpose there in writing and listening.
Yes, it was almost as if the story had been in me all along, and it was just knocking on a door waiting to spring out.
Yes.
No idea what the story was, but once I started writing it, it became apparent.
Yeah.
And who knows? It's a mysterious thing, writing.
Yes.
Where it actually originates is a big mystery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking back on the writing of the book, was there anything that stood out to you that caught your attention that might not have before?
I wrote out my answers, by the way. So if you see me looking this way, I'm kind of
That's okay.
and I don't want to make this sound like I'm reading off a sheet, but what I have down here is that there were two things that impressed upon me, that themselves upon me, and both of them involved, I guess, what I described as hidden potential. I'll just read this here because I think I put it pretty well. It occurred to me in writing about both Elton and Duncan that part of the problem in coming to terms with such things as schizophrenia or autism are the mental constructs in which we imprison ourselves and the way we fashion the world around us to reinforce the idea that some things are normal and other things are aberrant.
Okay. Okay.
The two characters, and I think I touched on this before, but the two characters of Elton and his son Duncan demonstrate the failure, with the example of Elton, and the success, with the example of Duncan, of being able to control hidden potential that may be found within the confines of their supposed disabilities. I've always suspected that a large problem with these is the fact that we consider them disabilities to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we call them disabilities? Why don't we call them unusual talents
yeah,
but we call them disabilities. It has a kind of unfortunate ring to it.
why can't it be gifts of autism?
Yeah. I mean, does everything have to relate to this sense we have of what is normal?
Mm-hmm.
It's
And there
really
is nothing
Has anyone
normal.
ever defined that?
No.
In the case of Elton, like I said, he keeps what he suspects may be schizophrenia secret, refusing to be on medications in a grand attempt to control the experience and thereby to utilize it in order to enhance his life. Unfortunately, he fails to learn how to control the experience, which you can, I'm sure, imagine with someone who's schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
And thereby, he fails to control the experience. In the case of Duncan, however, like I say, he successfully is able to utilize that gift of driving motor vehicles effectively. He becomes the first Grand Prix world champion. There's a section in the book where there is some criminal that robs a bank or something, and that criminal makes a getaway in a car that's the exact same model and color as the car that Duncan and Elton are riding in from across the river into Kentucky, into Cincinnati. And so the police make a mistake and think that they're the criminals since it's the exact same car. And so Duncan is at the wheel. He's on a high-speed chase. The police are chasing him. He's going the wrong way down a crowded interstate, And he's just so relaxed. He's just turning the wheel this way, that way, this way, that way, avoiding one head-on collision after another. And then he exits off the interstate onto an entrance ramp, and then somehow makes his way back to the hotel where he and his father are staying. And he has no problem with that. He's so good at it that he's just able to
It's
do
just,
it effortlessly. And Elton is just terrorized by it. And by the time
right. Yeah.
they get to the parking lot, he realizes he's peed his pants. He has been so
Oh
terrorized.
my. Well, I can understand if you're going the wrong way down an interstate
Yeah,
and the gentleman driving is just cool as a cucumber.
right, exactly. So that was the other chapter that I almost chose. And
Okay.
my favorite part of the book. It's just that it was so long and convoluted and complicated, it seemed too much.
Yeah. Okay. So what kind of reviews are you getting about the book? What are people saying about it?
Well, I've gotten some people, just about everyone finds it amusing in a rather strange kind of way, entertaining. Some people find it intriguing, and in some cases even challenging, because the book presents these, I hate to use the word disabilities, but the book presents them in a kind of different way than they generally get presented.
Okay.
Rather challenging for some people to, read the book because
Okay.
it's kind of different. But people generally find it amusing and entertaining,
Okay.
which I think is the ultimate purpose that we have.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But
And
if
how
we
did,
can,
I'm
if we
sorry, go
can
ahead.
get people to think, that's icing on the cake.
Yes. Yes. Or maybe even think about how they view others with schizophrenia or autism or whatever
Right.
other mental challenge might be in the book, if they,
If it can, yeah, if it
so
can
they can
challenge the
see.
way they look at these things,
Yep. Yep.
shed a new light on it or something.
Yeah. It's okay to not be normal.
Right.
Okay. So how do you think the book will help others? We've kind of
Well,
touched on some of
as I
that.
said before, I think a well-written book, and that's not for me to judge, that's for whoever reads it. But a well-written book, I think, provides the reader with an escape. And that might sound a little
Cliche.
trivial or something, but
Trivial.
I think that's an important thing. I think life can be real stressful, and having a means of somehow escaping from that stress and really becoming absorbed in something, I think is a real therapeutic thing. So I think that's part of how it can help people, just sheerly by being entertaining and by helping them to get their minds off of whatever their troubles may be. I wrote here, I would like it if the experience of reading it felt to people like good, clean fun. Or even better yet, that it may be thought-provoking to some people. Who knows?
Okay. Okay. All right. And then are you working on any other books?
Since the Madcap Chronicle, which was the second one I wrote, I've written 6 novels. Only one that's been published, entitled An Extended Morphine Holiday. The first book I published, and which was Of Moose and Men and An Extended Morphine Holiday, are both being republished by Pennant.
Awesome. Great.
But
Okay.
I have a bunch of others that I just can't wait to send the manuscripts, to have people and see what they think. And, like I said, I intend to have the other 5 published by Pennant as well. So far, I'm happy with Pennant. I had a previous publisher that it just didn't work out for reasons I won't go into.
I had a previous publisher as well.
Okay, so you've been
I
down
understand.
that road.
Yeah.
I'm currently working on, I don't know if it's the 8th novel. I think it might be the 8th. I've had a sort of lifelong struggle with sleep,
Oh,
getting sleep. As long as I can remember, I'd had trouble sleeping. And I'm currently, half seriously, writing a piece entitled Memoirs of an Insomniac. So
okay.
we'll see if that goes anywhere.
And maybe that could, a lot of people could identify with that, because I know quite a few people who have trouble sleeping.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's been quite a struggle for some time. And I've tried everything, the herbs, the prescriptions,
mhm.
oh, I mean, just you name it, I've tried it, and I've never found anything that is real effective in getting me back to sleep, with one exception, and that's alcohol, which
Yeah,
is not very quality sleep, but
no,
you sure get to sleep.
sleep, yeah.
I don't drink socially. I don't drink with friends. I'm not a drinker. I drink to sleep, because
Mm.
I never found anything more effective than that. So,
Hmm. Well,
but
as a pastor, I would mention Proverbs 3.
mhm.
So,
How does
oh,
that one go?
huh?
Uh,
How does it go?
Refresh my
Oh,
memory on Proverbs 3.
oh, well, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 is the trust in the Lord with all of your heart, lean not on your own
Right.
understanding. And there's a lot of good stuff. And then when you get to Proverbs 3:24, when you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. So
Yeah.
not just the 5 and 6, but the whole passage of
Right.
Proverbs 3.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, prayer and deepening your relationship with God is a real important thing.
yes, sir.
Not the best thing best person when it comes to that. Um,
We all have
but
things to work on.
yep,
So,
that's true.
okay, well, I want to throw in, we always make sure and mention Debbie and Pennant Publications. And thanks to her for all she does for us.
Yes. Thank you, Debbie.
Yes, she's amazing and
Kudos to
wonderful.
Debbie. Yeah.
Yep. So, all right, Lou, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciated hearing about your book. I think I'm going to have to get a copy of it and read it.
All
So,
right, cool.
all
Here
right,
it
thanks.
is.
Yep, there it is. Thank you for showing it.
Thank you so much,
Yep,
Tanya.
have a wonderful day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.